The genders are unequal. The genders are asymmetrical. But when it comes to moral responsibility, we're exactly the same. And it's really important to challenge yourself. How would I perceive this situation differently if the genders were reversed? Now, I happen to know a very good-looking woman who got it into her head that she was going to seduce a man who was still a virgin. Yes, he's the proverbial 30-year-old virgin, but not just that. If we end the story there, you think, hey, she's doing him a favor. She was going to seduce a man who was a religious fanatic. This man was a Brahmin Hindu who had made a promise to his mother, who had made a promise to his God, who had made a promise to his religion, who had made a promise to himself that he would remain a virgin until marriage. So that's a very different sort of act of seduction than just getting into bed with a 30-year-old guy who's never managed to have a girlfriend. And every single one of you would perceive this differently. Morally, you would judge it differently if we were talking about me seducing a naive, true, believing Hindu female. What if it were an 18-year-old Brahmin girl? And we have to say she's 18 because this is one of those asymmetries in the culture. What if we're an 18-year-old Brahmin girl who had promised her mother she was going to remain a virgin till marriage, and then I seduce her? So she crosses the line with me. What is she going to do for the rest of her life? Does she go back to being a true believing Brahmin? Did she lie to her mother, lie to her husband, lie for the rest of her life to create the illusion that she was a virgin until marriage? Or does it change her forever, where I bring about a rupture between her and her family? I bring about a rupture between her and the man she has arranged to marry. A man, by definition, she doesn't love. A man she doesn't even know. Doesn't mean she hates him, but it's an arranged marriage. There's no love between them. Have I brought about a change in her life that leads to her being an atheist, her being a nihilist, her living in a totally different way? Forever. Until the day she dies. And what was Melissa's fantasy? What was it she was trying to do to Abhishek Desikan? Whenever we talked about Melissa hypothetically having sex with another man, the first priority, the first concern was the fragility of that other man, the damage that was going to be done to him. There is this guy we have been consistently referring to as the younger man. Yeah, so that was a guy who started watching my YouTube channel when he was 14. Melissa started being interested in him when he was 18. So what is going to be the impact on him psychologically for the rest of his life if he sleeps with the girlfriend of this YouTuber who has kind of been his idol? This YouTuber whom he quoted in essays he wrote during high school. This YouTuber whose book he's read. This YouTuber's just been a huge influence on his life. Veganism, politics, history, philosophy. Okay. So you think it's no big deal? And what if the genders were reversed? What if it were me talking to a younger woman who can fill in all the blanks? Okay, so that seems straightforward enough, right? But this thing with Abhishek, this thing with a 30-year-old virgin male, in some ways, he's the villain of the tale. But in some ways, you got to pity the guy. He's totally out of his league dealing with Melissa. He has no idea of the extent to which she's manipulating him. He has no idea of the extent to which she utterly despises him. She's spending time sending him messages like, oh, how was the tennis match? Did you enjoy watching tennis on TV? Melissa doesn't just hate tennis specifically. Melissa hates any man and anybody who would waste their time sitting on the couch watching sports like tennis on TV. This is one of the things she hates most intensely, all right? Now think about it. Think about if positions were reversed. What if you were reading my messages with a virgin Hindu woman, a Brahmin woman who'd made this commitment? And what if you're looking at messages I've written to her where I'm like, oh, hey, how was the tennis match? And that's my game. think about what I'm manipulating her into. The line I'm manipulating her into crossing. Okay, so now it's very different. Now, the messages Melissa wrote to this guy, Abhishek, where she is vaguely suggesting that the two of them could get married, where she is vaguely suggesting that it's as if they're already married now. She is vaguely suggesting that she's turned on by the thought of getting pregnant with his baby and actually having a child with him. Okay, I realize how shocking those are, quoted out of context. But how would you regard them in context if it were me talking to an 18-year-old virgin female and a religious fanatic, where I'm trying to seduce her into not just sleeping with me, losing her virginity with me. I'm trying to seduce her into a situation where she is going to break away from her family. She is going to betray the promises she's made to her own mother and to an arranged marriage, to a man she's already arranged to be married to in the future. All those people presume that she is committed to being a virgin till marriage. So what's the significance now when I say to her, oh yeah, baby, yeah, sure, we could get married, and say, oh, you could meet my family. Oh, I'm turned on by the idea of you being pregnant with my baby. And it's all a lie. The fact that Melissa was lying to me doesn't mean she was telling the truth to this guy, Abhishek. She could be lying to both parties. She could be lying to both men. And when you understand what she was really doing, the nature of the manipulation, there's evil on both sides. Now, the question you should be asking is, yeah, but Zell, would you do this? So we're talking about if positions reversed. Zell, what if you were in this situation? Would you do this? Thing one is, I never would do anything that hurt Melissa or hurt my primary partner, whoever that may be. And I have been in the situation many times that a beautiful woman is trying to hit on me, trying to flirt with me, trying to have a conversation with me. And Melissa's there in the same room. And I don't do it. I shut her down, avoid her, end the conversation or don't have the conversation, just because I don't want to hurt Melissa's feelings that minute. Okay? This is in the context of a polyamorous relationship. This is the context of an open relationship. I remember several times, a recent memory, where really, really gorgeous women were trying to initiate with me face to face in real life. And I shut them down and avoided it just because of what Melissa was going through that day. Just because I just wanted to spare her feelings, just wanted to spare her the stress of going through that. Now, women still approach me in all kinds of crazy contexts. I mean, I've had a woman really hit on me at a stand-up comedy club where the other comedians all see it. There are all kinds of weird ramifications of this. And Melissa's sitting right there next to me. When I was with Melissa in Montreal, I remember we were in an Adidas store. It is a clothing store that only sells clothes by Adidas. And one of the women working in the store, she saw us together. Like, she saw we were a couple and we're talking about whether or not we're going to buy these shoes or buy this pair of pants and this kind of thing. And when Melissa went into the change room, so I was alone for 5 minutes, this woman's trying to hit on me while my girlfriend is in the change room. And again, what the hell? She doesn't, no, as a matter of fact, it's a polyamorous relationship. As a matter of fact, it is an option for me, but she doesn't know that. So, my real life experience, it's not just on the internet, it's not just Instagram DMs or something that women do try to initiate with me. When talking about Instagram DMs, then it may be someone who's seen many hours of my YouTube videos, who knows my whole life story, who knows that it's polyamorous. That's very, very different. But my point is, in talking about these things with Melissa, I was very concerned about the negative impact on her. So that's asymmetrical, because Melissa didn't give a fuck. She didn't care in the slightest about how much she hurt me. On the contrary, as you were to reflect recently, to some extent, she seemed to be motivated to hurt me as much as possible. We don't know. But the other thing is, I've really got to be concerned about the impact on the other person. And I was saying from day one about this guy, Abhishek, I mean, there were a lot of warnings, there were a lot of red flags. One of the things that makes the genders asymmetrical is that, Melissa was afraid of the guy. Melissa really thought she was putting her life in danger with this guy. Normally, if the genders are reversed, me as a man, I'm not really worried that the woman is going to hurt me or kill me or abduct me or something like that. Well, Melissa was afraid, and she saw how abnormal the guy's behavior was. She talked about that a lot, and that wasn't a lie. Now, we all know now what it is she had to be afraid of, but, however bad he is, Abhishek, however much of a religious hypocrite, however evil he is on his side for what he's doing here, nevertheless, it's like, I had to caution Melissa, take a step back and think about the impact for him. Think about how you're changing his life forever, right? With the younger man, whether we're talking about him at age 18 or age 19, 20, 21, okay, whoa, take a step back. Maybe for you, this is just a fun, long weekend that you get to bang this fan on my channel, but think about what it means to him for the rest of your life. If you got 4 people involved here, me, Melissa, the other man, and then the other man's wife or the other man's long-term girlfriend, you really have to think about, you really have to care about the consequences for everyone. So would I find myself in this situation? Would I ever do this? Well, I can remember a really good-looking Mormon woman. And man, I'll be honest, she looked a lot like Melissa. This particular Mormon woman, she really did. And woo, the thought of seducing her, and she wanted to be seduced. She was really into me, this Mormon woman. The thought of seducing her and then changing her whole life forever. Changing her attitude towards the religion, changing her attitude towards her own family, obviously probably changing her career path, changing her education, what she's going to study, what she's going to do, where, yeah, that turned me on. And yeah, I felt like that was net positive. It was a lot more positive than negative for this woman. She should be so lucky as to be seduced by me and start to take on atheistic, modern, secular and skeptical attitudes. That could be wonderful. It's much more than just sex, And I really don't mean this as a fantasy. These are real people and real consequences. We can sit here and joke, okay, this dude Abhishek, he was such a loser, he was a 30-year-old virgin, he should be, 30-year-old virgin, he should be so lucky as to get into bed with someone wonderful like Melissa. Yeah, okay, that's a certain kind of shallow take on it. Okay, but what's the deeper, what's the more profound take? What if Melissa seducing this guy, what if that's a crucial turning point in his life, where he has to reevaluate his religion? He has to reevaluate what it is he thinks he believes in. I had one conversation with that guy over Skype, and it was very disturbing for him, because here he was talking to a white man who knows infinitely more about his religion than he does. I know much more about Sanskrit and ancient Hinduism, not just Buddhism, than he does. He has to stop and face up to the fact that he knows less than a Wikipedia article about this religion he's committed to. This kind of intervention in another person's life, do you really regard it as destructive, or do you regard it as something positive? So in that sense, in that narrow sense, yes, I can sympathize with what Melissa was doing, as evil as it was and as terrible as the consequences for me personally. And I can even say that, again, with that particular Mormon girl, I would have really enjoyed helping her lose her faith. And of course, in retrospect, I would have felt positively about it, even if, we're assuming she doesn't marry me, she doesn't become my primary partner or even my secondary partner for the rest of it. Even if it's just a short-term love affair that helps her take on a new set of attitudes, a new direction in life. Of course, that is a kind of evil I can sympathize with.